Hello, it is yet another Thursday here on TV47, and as usual, we have Body Garage, where you know your health matters, with I, Sheila Chelangat. And on this episode, we focus on HIV and AIDS, being that it is about just 72 hours to mark the World AIDS Day that is commemorated every 1st of December. Now, this year, we would be having the theme being Take the Right Path. And here in studio, we would have to change the conversation a little bit as we get live experiences from champions of HIV and AIDS. And with me, I do have Churchill Alumasa, who is a member or the director of Discordant Couples of Kenya. Great to have you here in studio.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Also, we do have Wamboi Nyoike, who is with the International Community of Women Living with HIV and AIDS in Kenya. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, and they're not just the two of them, we also have about 6 others. Hi guys.
Hi.
Great to have you here in studio. Are we ready to share those experiences?
Yes.
All right. So, Churchill, let's
Yes.
begin with the ones and twos. This year's theme in Kenya aims to focus on men and boys. How relevant is it, and why the men and boys?
Thank you for having us here. It's extremely relevant because studies or even science has shown over time that men have poor health-seeking behaviors. One example, for instance, is you know the world now is gearing towards eradicating HIV and AIDS as a public health threat by the year 2030. Over and over, we have found out that men are more or less the missing link. Why? Because of these poor health-seeking behaviors. Because before anything happens, people need to test for HIV and then probably get on medication and then adhere so that they work towards viral suppression. Mm-hmm. Recently, even in Kenya, we have been shown that 1/3 of the men who presented themselves for HIV testing did not go back to get their results. Mm-hmm. So we have issues like that. And then there's also the issue of proxy testing in HIV, especially amongst couples, where the men assume that their lady's status is the same as theirs.
Is the same as theirs.
Which in most instances it's not. That is why we have discordant couples.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd love you to hold on to that thought as we will delve deeper into what is a discordant couple for a fact. And Wamboi, I know we are focusing on men and boys. Does it mean that the woman has been looked into 100%?
I would not say that the woman has been looked into 100%, but the deriving of the men and the boys, it's actually an advantage to the woman. Statistics shows that one man can infect 6 women, whereas 6 women can infect 1 man. So I think this is an advantage to the women, because if we focus on men, we are able to curb the rate of infection.
Yeah. All right. I love what you've said, that, you know, it is an advantage as well to the woman. And just as promised, we do have live audience here, and we would have to get their live experiences as champions of HIV and AIDS. And I'd love to start with you, Frida. What was it like finding out that you have HIV and AIDS?
Hello. Thank you for accepting us here. Okay, for me, at first when I discovered, it was very hectic. I didn't believe it. I even almost fainted. I had to retest again to confirm, is it true or it's not true? The test was the same. Still, my maid was saying, no, it's not true. Why? Because some of my dreams were shattered.
Yeah.
It's the time I was pregnant. And if it wasn't for the pregnancy, I couldn't have known. So I had to shift from the place that I was. I was in Wajir at that time. I had to come back to Nairobi to retest again to confirm, is it true? Yeah, when the third test was the same. So I had to accept. Yes. I was pregnant. What can I do?
Yes.
I had to accept because of my son and move on with life. It's not the head of the life. There's so many things you can do. It's not a death sentence. So that was it.
Wow, I'm loving that you say that you had to accept, and for you it was a moment of disbelief. I'd love to hear from you, Peter. What was your experience like finding out?
Well, finding out that one is HIV positive comes with a lot of shock. For me, it was disbelief, just like Frida said. I could not believe it. It really shocked me because I just popped in a VCT to confirm, okay, if I'm HIV positive or not, after having an experience in an hospital where I had gone to discharge my firstborn baby, Prudence. And what really triggered my desire to know my status is actually the question that the nurse asked me when I had gone to discharge them. And the question kept on nagging me, and that is what moved me into a VCT. The question was, are you the father of this daughter? Then it perturbed me. So in order not to destroy the joy of the coming of the new baby, I just discharged them. Then the question kept on lingering, and that is what actually drove me to find out. I went back to the hospital, and luckily I found that the nurse that asked me the same question, and I asked her what she really meant. And true to my doubts, she told me, well, let's get into a room, where she really told me that, there's something that I needed to tell you that time, which due to circumstances I could not tell you. So the fact is, your wife used to come to the hospital or clinic for prenatal HIV care. Are you aware? Then I said, I don't know. I wasn't aware. So that is how I got to know about it. So it shocked me, but as time rolled by, I was able to be helped to really accept my status. And here I am living more positively with HIV 24 years down the line.
All right. And perhaps someone is watching Churchill and wondering, they have disclosed, and so then how do you help someone first accept the whole situation?
So this issue, it is a process. It is a process that takes time. Especially, you can imagine, if your partner is of a different status as yourself. It takes a long time for acceptance to get in, and then that needs professional help. One is professional help. The second is around psychosocial support groups, where people who are, for instance, discordant couples sit in groups and talk about the challenges and their issues, and they're able to assist each other to grow despite the conditions that they find themselves in. Yes, so it's two-pronged. One is professional, one on the peer level, they help each other. Yes.
And let me indulge you, Wamboi. What was your experience like, and then did you face any stigma?
My experience was actually 23 years ago. Mine was not voluntary testing. It was more diagnostic testing. That is, I was down with TB, I was down with malaria, I was under depression, and the time I learned, my last was only 1 year old. So the experience wasn't very pleasing. Of course, then the stigma was too much. Too much in the sense that nobody would even want to share a room with me, leave about a cup. To the extent of I would get into a matatu, because I come from a village. I would get into a matatu, and people who knows me would literally walk out of that matatu. Why? Because Wamboi is in that matatu, and they have that perception that they are going to catch HIV from the air. So it wasn't easy, and allow me to say that stigma is still not yet dead, only that we're having it in different shapes now.
Yes.
Yeah, it is quite devolved, like the county government devolvement. Yes.
Wow, it is quite devolved. Let me bring you in, Doreen. I'd love you to introduce yourself to us and share a little bit about your experience. And as she has said, stigma right now is just devolved. Is it true? Have you faced it yourself?
Hi everyone, Doreen Moracha is my name. I'm a HIV and AIDS advocate. And unfortunately in 2024, stigma is still there. Still as real as it was in the past. It's among the issues that we've solved so much in the HIV response in terms of treatment, prevention, testing, but we are yet to solve the issue of stigma because of the society first and us ourselves as people living with HIV, because we have both society stigma and self-stigma. So we have obviously deviated a little bit from the stigma where you could not sit in the same room with a person living with HIV, you could not share cups and all the utensils, but now it's more of you don't look like you have HIV. Because people expect us to have a look. And that look is, we should be sick, we should be somehow emaciated. So when they see people living with HIV looking healthy, they're like, you don't look like you have HIV. And this is even something that I get on my comment section on social media every single day, that I do not look like I have HIV, that I look like a HIV negative person. And I'm like, it's because I'm on ARVs now and they're working. And now we've grown to a point as HIV evolves and we get the science is taking shape differently, we still haven't removed from the minds of people, both living with HIV and without HIV, that we are not our diagnosis. We are way greater than the virus that we host. We just host the virus and take ARVs to control it, but we are yet to see, because people are like, oh, don't go around giving it to people. Because it's not groundnuts that I'll give it to Frida and give it to Levi, it's not. So I wish we could grow beyond that thought,
Yes. For Frida, Peter, and perhaps Wamboi, it was a moment of shock. How would you describe you finding it out?
So, well, I was born with HIV, so I've lived with HIV for 32 years now. My parents found out fast when I was 8 years. They didn't tell me because I was a child, so obviously I wouldn't get much about the HIV diagnosis. But when I was told, the funny part is when I was told, I was not in shock.
Really?
So my thing is, every time, because I used to be sick so much before treatment, so now I was told I'm going to start this new set of treatment and I'm not going to be as sick as I will be. So that gave me leverage to play with my friends. So I will be healthy. And also we'll travel to the hospital. So again, I'd miss school legally every month.
Yes.
And then every time we went to hospital, my mom would treat me chips, chicken, soda. So to me, it was an incentive.
Wow.
Yes.
It was a fun day for you.
It was a fun day for me. So
Yes.
I never really took it like, oh, it's life-changing. And no. I was like, okay, fine. So we are moving into another stage. Cool, sign me up.
All right.
So it's up until I finished high school that now I understood the reality of actually living with HIV, because now the stigma was very direct to my face. Now I could see people looking at people living with HIV with a side eye. Now you have to explain when you say, oh, I'm HIV positive. And the first question you asked is, how did you get it?
Yes.
So that when you say, I was born with HIV, then there's, oh, sorry, it was not your fault. But another person who got HIV sexually, does it make them that there are some sort of fault that they got HIV like that? So it kind of made me now start looking at humanity in a very different way. Yeah.
All right. Let me indulge Levi Knowles. We've had Doreen's story. For her, it was more of a fun day. What is your story, Levi?
I was infected when I was 17, direct from school by maybe somebody who knew her status. But to me, after diagnosis, it was a shock to me, because now I'm just alone in a room. Now, and back then, people were like taking HIV as something that is so drastic, you know. It was like a taboo. And going through it, the same thing, because I had seen my aunt pass on because of AIDS and my uncle. So I was like, okay, I'm next. I'm going to die. I found myself in a situation where I was in a dark place full of thoughts. And the only thing that was coming to my mind was like, how do I commit suicide so easily? How fast will it take me? I really want to die, you know. Then disclosing my HIV status to people so close to me, I would say it was the worst experience ever, because now you're getting stigmatized, discriminated because of a condition that I have.
Yes.
You know, and I was in a village where people didn't have information, and where people were being buried by using the polythene papers back then, and people had no information. So I was experiencing stigma direct. And this really affected my family too, because I remember my mom sometime, she would go to a chama and everybody's like, oh, okay, she is the mother to the HIV positive person.
Okay.
She would be named so many names, people calling her, you know. But I love her. I love you, Mom.
It's actually, you know, for me, it's a learning session, and I'm getting to understand you guys. And from him, I've seen how it can actually affect the family. And so with that, we are up for our first commercial break. When we will be right back, we will now talk about more about the treatment. How is it now? And what are some of the gains that Kenya has made as we head into Vision 2030? See you after this short break. All right, thank you very much for staying with TV47, and this is Body Garage, where, as you know, your health matters, and I am hosting it, Sheila Chelangat. And on this particular episode, we are talking about HIV and AIDS with a live audience here in studio, just showcasing some of their experiences. And before the break, we have touched on the experiences of almost each and every one of us. And let me get to you, Wamboi. One of the response that was set is testing and counseling. Perhaps what is the status of this in the country?
In the sense of?
In the sense of, is there ample testing being done? How would you rate the testing and counseling sessions that are being, given out?
Oh, thank you. Allow me to say this without being biased, because this is the truth and the truth on the ground. Initially, before one is put on ARVs or on treatment, allow me to say for the sake of the layman, there was preparation for this person who has just tested positive. There was a lot of preparation on the counseling of adherence, that now you will be put on ARVs, you'll be put on drugs that are lifelong until we get an option of cure. And this patient or this, the newly tested or the person tested would really digest on that, internalize, and they were ready to be put on ARVs. Okay? And this counseling would go on for a couple of months, like 2 or 3, but with a new guideline of test and treat, okay, you find that if I am tested positive, I am expected to come out of that facility with my medication. I am not prepared. I am not so sure whether it is true, whether the gadget is right. Remember the stages of acceptance. We have the shock, the denial, the anger, the negotiation, until you come to acceptance. Initially, one will be given time to go through that stage. Nowadays, there is no that time. It's you test today, I'm expected to have my ARVs within the next 72 hours. However, these are derived from different angles and perspective. With the test and treat, everything has got its pros and cons. With the test and treat, you find that now the prevalence is going low.
Doreen, I had you really give a yes to it. Perhaps what would you add about that?
The dynamics of HIV diagnosis have changed now. We even have self-testing, where you can test from the comfort of your home. And now, I recently joined the HIV cure advocacy, so the test and treat is also a way of helping us curb the virus before it kind of manipulates in the, multiplies rather in the body. So it's a good thing. It's a win on that. However, what Wamboi is saying on the stages of to reach acceptance, you will test and treat this person. They will go home. We are not guaranteed they're going to start treatment. We are not guaranteed they're not going to infect other people.
Yes.
However, we have started them on treatment according to our books. But now, are they starting treatment? We do not know. Some of them start and then they say, no, this medication, we can't do this. So there is that gap of the continuous counseling that we do not continue. We just cancel them there. They are supposed to accept the status there, start treatment there. You see, that is a lot of things for a human.
At one point,
exactly.
yes.
So now when they go home, they're now negotiating, because this also happens to women on antenatal care. They get tested today. They're supposed to ensure they start treatment, prevent the child they're carrying from getting HIV. Remember, this is a new diagnosis. This woman walked into the facility for antenatal care services.
Yes.
Now they have a new diagnosis, and they have another responsibility of ensuring this child is not born with HIV. And then most of them start treatment well, then reach a point, once the child is declared HIV negative, they stop treatment.
Yes.
So we lose them in care. So we don't have the continuous counseling. We don't have the psychosocial support that used to be there. Way back, we used to have a lot of psychosocial support groups where you would meet with other people living with HIV, because not all of us are on this stage.
Yes.
Not all of us. Some of us are still, there are people who have lived with HIV for 20 plus years and they still don't understand how that is their reality. So those psychosocial support groups will help know that there are 1.4 million Kenyans living with HIV, but I know 10 of us. And there's some sort of comfort that comes from that.
That comes with that.
So test and treat does not fill that gap. Yeah.
And you know, now you've brought in the aspect of treatment, which as per my knowledge from school, it's antiretroviral drugs. And I would want to bring you in, Franklin. Perhaps now you're being told now you'll get on this drug that is lifelong. At that point, what went through your mind?
Okay, first, I was born HIV positive.
Okay.
And in a family of 4, I'm the firstborn, and I am the only one living with HIV and mom. So it was very hard because I wanted to understand why only me in the family, whereby I am the only one living HIV positive. I didn't get it from the mom, I got it at the facility. In a way like that I'm living HIV positive, because through the support groups we were going while we are children at the primary level, that's when I started hearing about HIV. You are taking medication that you will live forever. And it was not that easy on my side, because I had a lot of questions, but at the same time, I was so afraid of asking, because this is the mom who has been showing me all this love. And when I get to the school, I hear like HIV inapatikana kwa tabia mbaya. I was like, I'm confused in which way could I have got it, kwa sababu I am still a child, na that is what the song they are singing at the school.
Yes.
And it took a lot for at least for me to understand that this medication, I will take them for the rest of my life. But the facility played a very key role on whereby to help me understand more.
Okay, thank you for that. Joshua, let me indulge you. Perhaps now taking this drug, you take it every day. Are there challenges that come with that?
With the drugs, there are some challenges that comes with the drugs. Even if it is malaria drugs, they also come with that challenge. Kuna wenye they can't take that medication every day. So when you are told that you will be taking this drug every day until the day that the solution will be found, you feel like there's a burden that has been put on your side. I can talk about the first day I was told that I'm positive. I didn't had that shock. I don't know why, but that is what happened. I was in Form 4, second term. I went for the test. I was having a headache. So I was interested to visit the medical center. After that test, if I was found that I was having malaria, then I was given the drugs for malaria. But when I was walking out of the facility, something triggered my mind that Joshua, can you just go into that VCT's house, go and get tested? When I entered there, I was tested. First, I was told about everything, the procedure. Then when I was tested, I found myself positive. Then I was like, how?
Yes.
How comes I just brought myself into this? So the guy told me that, bro, don't worry, we are in this together. So the guy was also in that process.
Yes.
So I was like, the way you are now, I was told about HIV, AIDS, you are going to die, you are going to do this. So this guy told me that this is not the end of life. So I was like, hey, this guy has encouraged me on the first days. So akaniambia, the only thing that you can do after accepting this, you can go and take the ARVs. I told him that, bro, ni show mahali pa inaweza chukua hii kitu. If this thing has enabled you to live this long, then I can also live. So I stayed for that long, for 13 years, without telling anybody at home. I was taking it, without anybody knowing.
Without anybody knowing at home.
13 years. Then after a certain period of time, I had the stomach TB. I was admitted. So the only thing that came in my mind, I told my mom, enda kwa daktari, umwambie kuna dawa fulani wana meza, akuje. So I was afraid kumwambia direct. So
this is the problem.
Yes, akaniambia, nini dawa gani hujai niambia hii? Kamwambia no, enda tu mwambie akuje.
Yes.
So when the nurse came, I told her about everything. Akaniambia, sasa itabidi tuambie mama.
Yes.
Nikamwambia sasa hii kitaumana.
Kitaumana.
And
I just want to bring you in, Peter. You've heard him say that he just walked in and he found that he has it. And someone might be thinking, so ulikuwa unatafuta nini? You see, you found what you were looking for. How then would you encourage somebody watching that, you know what, it's okay to go and get tested?
First, let me echo something which is very important with regard to the theme of this World AIDS Day. Men culturally often discouragement, cultural norms often discourage men from expressing vulnerability.
Okay.
Or seeking professional help. Worsening untreated mental health conditions. The reason why I think this theme is critical is because of this. Men need to really go beyond the cultural norms. That, you know, impede them from really seeking help. Because if they don't seek help, they will remain with, you know, they'll be internally stigmatized, not able to really go out and seek help. And that has ramifications with regard to actually transmitting the virus.
And you're bringing in a very valid point, because I now want to bring in Churchill. He says when he was seeking love, he wanted to get the grace to tell their partner. Now, you had mentioned before there's what we call a discordant couple. So what is it? And you have, you know, been dealt with them. And so how do you help them to live together? And how do you, you know, talk to them?
So a discordant couple is a situation where one partner is of a different HIV status. So one partner is HIV negative, another is positive. And this can happen to a married couple, or it can happen to a couple that is living together in a stable relationship, at least over a certain period of time. Now, the challenge comes due to the fact that, you know, as a society, we demand that married people or a couple produce kids. That's the output, right? So in instances where kids are not forthcoming, probably the lady will be called names. So when I started working with couples, that was like 20 years ago. there was a lot of stigma around HIV and AIDS, which forced discordant couples to be in sort of secret societies, right? Because if your parents or your family found out that your partner was positive, what would they do? They'd come and remove them, right? But at the same time, they expected that children be born, which means a lot of good people were taking a lot of risks.
And I would want you to hold on to that thought, and then after the break we would probably discuss what are some of the challenges they face as we take our second commercial break. Do not go too far. Keep it TV 47. All right, thank you for keeping it TV 47. This is Body Garage, and on this episode we are focusing on HIV and AIDS as the world gears up to World AIDS Day that is being commemorated every 1st of December. Before the break, Churchill, you were speaking to us about discordant couples. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the challenges that they do face?
Okay, initially the biggest challenge was the one that I've alluded to. Having children in a safe space or safe environment.
Yes.
Right now with science that has been made a lot easier. First of all, there's something that is called U equals U. Undetectable is equal to untransmittable. What that means is this, that if someone's HIV, if the virus in the blood of an individual is below 50 copies per millimeter, they cannot infect their partner. So that has made it a lot easier for couples to be able to procreate in situations where we're having a lot of HIV-free children that are being born to discordant couples. So it is important. So that was the initial challenge. Another challenge, like I've said, is the challenge to do with the family. But by and large, the ties that bind discordant couples are a lot bigger than what separates them. So take, for instance, by the time people are finding out that they're discordant, they have 3-4 children, or they will make a mortgage, they have a mortgage somewhere, you know, they've started a family. So pulling the mashanda becomes hard because that's just a condition. And the final thing I'd like to also insist with people, you know, in the 90s, early 2000, when this was blowing up, HIV then was a death sentence. Right now, it's just a manageable medical condition. Yes.
I love that you've said that, you know, it's just a manageable medical condition. And of course, the response has had its challenges as well. Let me bring you in, Frida. What has been some of the barriers that have, you know, led to, you know, delayed response to HIV and AIDS, or have affected, you know, the response of towards testing of HIV and AIDS in the country?
Okay, all I can say is that it comes to the early diagnosis. You see, some get to know without going just to get tested. They are going just for prenatal. Like me, I went for prenatal tests. That's when I discovered. But you find out sometimes when it's becoming a shock to people when you get to know that you're HIV. And how do you come out to tell your partner or someone you're living with that you're HIV? At first, for me, when I was taking medication, nobody could know that I was taking medication. It's only my mom who I told the first time, because as my brother said, Ravi wanted to commit suicide. I also was having a thought of committing suicide. But because I talked with a doctor and he was in the same stage as me, he told me that you don't have to take any drastic decision. So because of your child, you have to think positive. Don't think that it's dead. So I had to make sure that I'm going to be a mother, yes. And I'm taking medicine. For how long will I continue taking this medicine? I had to think beyond. Then at that moment, I was introduced to some couples that were living with HIV.
Okay.
And I also met some people working with Red Cross. That's when I was told that Frida is not the end of life.
And that's when you
and
knew
yeah, I was very happy because it was very hard for me. I found out in 2019. That's when I was pregnant. So I said that now because I'm like this and I'm going to live long, let me take care of myself because of my son.
Yes.
I even breastfed my son, and my son is free. He is healthy, very healthy. When I meet people and like I want to disclose, but you like, who am I going to disclose to? You cannot disclose to everybody. Not everyone is going to accept who you are.
that.
Yeah, there is still stigma there, especially in the place that I was. I was in Wajir, a place for Muslim people. They said like, when you're HIV, you have been doing something bad. No, it was not my fault that I become HIV. And others becoming HIV, it's not their fault. So let's accept who we are. Let's accept this condition and this host in us that we're going to live long.
I want to get to you, Levi Knowles. I love your name, by the way. And can you talk to me about some of the weirdest myths and misconceptions that you've probably had about HIV and AIDS, or that you've been told about HIV and AIDS?
I was in this situation where I caught my friends talking about me. So I was like, you know what? Yes, I have it and there's nothing I can do. But you know, you never like one person that is going to tell you something that is hurting. And this person boldly told me like, you know, you're just a walking corpse. And you're going to die maybe in a few months. And here I am doing 17 years. So then again, going to places and people are treating you like, you know, that guy has HIV.
Yes, and then you're the
You're not
disease.
even fit to be here. Like you can't even get this. Maybe you're looking for work and somebody's like, oh, this is a hotel. How are you supposed to like handle food and you're HIV positive? You know, so it's all about like maybe creating awareness and sensitizing our facilities, that is our communities, our churches, our schools, and demystifying all the myths, because there are a lot.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
And Doreen, he says that, you know, we should create awareness. And with that, you know, the government has come up with some of, you know, programs, for instance, condom availability, male circumcisions. What would you say are some of the gains we've made? Are those programs doing what they ought to have done?
Well, according to the numbers, some of the new infections have gone down over the years. And so I'll say we are doing well, but we can do better. We can reach zero, especially when it comes to eliminating mother-to-child transmission. We can reach zero. When it comes to now the aspect of behavior change, we now have better HIV prevention methods. Now we have the PrEP. We have, as Churchill said, U equals U, where a person living with HIV cannot transmit HIV to their negative partner. A person who is HIV negative and takes PrEP medication, they cannot get HIV because they are prevented HIV-wise. So we have people, we have now the self-testing where in 20 minutes you can know your HIV status. So we are improving, but we can do better because, and that better is where the stigma comes in. The stigma is what prevents people from knowing their HIV status. It's what continues the ignorance and misconceptions of people living with HIV. It's why some people are like, you know, the aspect of you don't look like you have HIV increases chances of HIV infections, because we expect people living with HIV to look a certain type of way. So when somebody tells you, do I look like I have HIV? You are like, maneno haya si mageni jijini. So we can do better. We can do better if we continue educating everyone. Let's talk about the availability of ARVs. How available are they in Kenya, and perhaps is there a way the government can do better?
The availability of ARVs in Kenya, I would say it's at par. They are quite affordable. They're actually free. They are accessible. You'll find even in dispensaries, even in private clinics, we are having ARVs that are dispensed for free, and sometimes at a very little fee for the management of that facility. So they are quite accessible, they are quite available, they are quite affordable. The question is, how available are they to the consumer? Allow me to say this, that of course, getting back to test and treat, people are really picking them. They are being dispensed. That adherence is where we need to come back. Yes, we need to have the tires meet the road when it comes to adherence. Awareness, okay, and demystification. There's a lot that needs to be done. Allow me to echo Doreen. Yes, we did it. Some of us came out public and people were like, if one boy is, I came out when I was quite young.
Yes.
Right now I'm a show. I came out when I was quite young as I think 26. Right now I'm talking about sniffing 50.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, and I was, if this beauty at 50 anyway.
Yes.
Bring it back to 26 years. And people were like, if one boy is, then I as well can be. And people took up testing. But today, the testing, the awareness, we need to do something. We need to talk about domestic funding. That is where we are missing it. And if we are not careful as a country, we shall get back to the HIV of then, the 90s, where there was this advert, especially when it is put in linguistic or that vernacular. 700, between 500 and 700 people are dying daily. If we are not careful, the mortality rate is going up. And that is a fact. And the major mortality that is causing is TB. We're having a lot of TB, both extrapulmonary and pulmonary TB.
Yes.
There's a lot of that. So we need to do something as a nation. We need to emphasize on domestic. We need to come back to awareness creation that is missing, despite the fact that we are now digitalized. Come to my Facebook page. You'll find the Edu archives. I am always talking about HIV. You go to Doreen's page. She's always demystifying that.
Yes.
And quite a number of us, we are doing that. But I think now the physical thing needs to come back.
Needs to come back.
Needs to come back,
And
yes.
she has brought out a very important aspect, the funding. How is funding proving a challenge in, combating, HIV and AIDS?
So that's a tough question, but I'll try and take it up as best as I can. From the 90s, right up to about 10 years ago, 90% of the funding was from foreign donors. Primarily, we have what we're calling the President's Emergency Fund for HIV. That's PEPFAR from the US. And then there's Global Fund. That is a combination of the advanced nations. They put their pot and bring it. So these are the guys who have been funding the acquisition of ARVs. That continues to be the case. But we are happy to say that right from about 5 years ago, the Kenya government has been putting funds into the Global Fund. In fact, this last year, it has increased. But it's still a long way to being, we need to be self-sufficient such that we're able to take care of this problem locally.
And away from that, Doreen, I want you to give me, your sentiments in 30 seconds. Talk about this goal of eliminating HIV and AIDS as a public threat by 2030. Do you think that Kenya can actually beat that?
Yes and no.
Yes.
Yes, if we have the intentionality, if we put money and commitment, we can end AIDS as a public health threat.
Okay.
No, if we are not committed enough, if we are not putting money, because we need money to reach that goal.
Okay.
And it's just 5 years away, so we have a lot of work to do.
All right, just as Doreen says, we probably do have still a lot of work to do. Thank you very much. You have been a lovely audience that you have given me the insights and I have understand. And I do hope that, you watching back at home, you have been able to learn from these experiences. And if, you're still there and probably still wondering how would I come out, then probably this is your call to. So there's so much that still needs to be done. And we hope that, Kenya can actually beat this vision 2030, this goal of 2030 of eliminating HIV and AIDS as a public threat. From me here in studio, it is good night. Do have yourselves a lovely evening. you.